Welcome to today's Explainer. Today, we're diving into Psalm 26. Now, this is a 12-verse ancient text, but it actually functions as a high-stakes, incredibly structured legal defense. We're going to analyze the mechanics of this human plea for justice, integrity, and, well, absolute vindication. You see, back in the ancient world, entering into a dispute with the divine wasn't just some casual affair. It was an intense, formal petition. So we'll explore how the author builds this watertight case, going from a really bold opening demand to an ironclad alibi and finally a profound resolution. Let's dive right into the architecture of this courtroom drama, shall we?
Vindicate me, O Lord, for I have walked in my integrity. Talk about a sharp, unapologetic, cold open. The author, David, isn't just creeping in with a timid request for mercy here, he's issuing a central demand. It's like he's stepping right up to the judge's bench, looking the ultimate authority dead in the eye and saying, "Clear my name." Historically and theologically speaking, that is a massive claim. Demanding vindication from a divine judge, rather than just asking for forgiveness, implies a staggering level of confidence in his own conduct. It immediately sets an incredibly high bar for the rest of the text, basically forcing the author to back up this claim of absolute, unwavering integrity.
Now, to be clear, our analysis today is grounded entirely in the original text. Specifically, we're looking at the English Standard Version of Psalm 26. And as we walk through these 12 verses piece by piece, you're going to see exactly how this ancient defense is constructed. The text is actually brilliantly methodical. It lays out the opening petition, establishes the exact parameters of the author's innocence, lists the specific corruptions he's avoiding, and even details the physical locations that prove his loyalty. By looking closely at the phrasing, the verb choices, and the underlying metaphors in this translation, the structure of this ancient legal argument is going to come sharply into focus.
Section 1. A plea for vindication. Moving into verse 2, the author completely doubles down on his opening claim. Prove me, O Lord, and try me. Test my heart and my mind. Notice that specific string of verbs: prove, try, test. In the literary context of the ancient Near East, these aren't just your everyday casual synonyms. They actually carry a metallurgical context. They refer to the intense, literally fiery process of refining silver or gold. So the author is actively inviting a deep, probing cross-examination of his character. He's asking to be put in the crucible. I mean, think about the massive amount of confidence it takes to ask an all-knowing judge to turn up the heat, burn away any impurities, and shine a huge spotlight on your absolute deepest layers of intention and thought.
Okay, so here's a totally fascinating detail hidden right in the footnotes regarding that deep examination. When our translation says test my mind, the literal Hebrew phrasing is actually test my kidneys. Sounds wild to us, right? But in ancient Near Eastern anatomy, they didn't view the brain as the center of human emotion, reason, and secret thoughts like we do. Instead, they viewed the organs deep within the abdomen, specifically the kidneys, as the literal seat of the conscience. This brilliantly highlights just how deeply and physically the author wanted to be scrutinized. He isn't just saying, judge my actions. He is asking the divine judge to examine his guts, the deepest, most hidden core of his being, just to prove his innocence.
For your steadfast love is before my eyes, and I walk in your faithfulness. Here in verse 3, we finally see where someone gets the sheer confidence to invite a crucible-level cross-examination. And the secret? It's all about focus. The author's confidence in facing this ultimate trial doesn't come from some arrogant belief in his own perfection. Not at all. It comes from keeping his focus locked completely on steadfast love and faithfulness. There's a really deep psychological truth here that resonates just as strongly for us today. When you're under intense scrutiny, your survival depends entirely on your anchor. By fixing his eyes straight ahead on an immovable truth, the author stops himself from completely crumbling under the immense pressure of the trial.
Section 2. Avoiding the corrupt.
Now, to prove you're walking in integrity, you have to clearly define what you're walking away from. Verses 4, 5, 9, and 10 give us this rapid-fire lineup of specific threats: men of falsehood, hypocrites, evildoers, sinners, bloodthirsty men. In the ancient social strata, these weren't just insults. These distinct categories represented highly dangerous forces. You see, men of falsehood and hypocrites destroyed the social trust that a community absolutely needed to survive. And bloodthirsty men, well, they represented literal physical violence and the total breakdown of law. The author is really emphasizing the overwhelming, dangerous nature of the bad company operating right outside his door. He makes it a crucial part of his defense to establish that he completely, totally rejects this corrupt, chaotic world.
Section 3. The place of glory. Check out this physical motif of hands used to draw a sharp, unforgettable line in the sand here. In verse 6, the author states, "I wash my hands in innocence." That's an act of purity, right? An intentional, ritualistic cleansing from the grime of the world. But then, in stark contrast, verse 10 describes the corrupt as men whose right hands are full of bribes. It's washed hands versus dirty hands, clean integrity versus calculated corruption. The imagery is doing all the heavy lifting for us here, presenting this stunning piece of poetic evidence submitted straight to the judge. Essentially, the hands tell the story of the heart.
And that very act of washing his hands leads the author straight into an attitude of loud, public gratitude in verse 7. "And go around your altar, O Lord, proclaiming thanksgiving aloud and telling all your wondrous deeds." Remember, moving around the altar in ancient society wasn't just some private internal feeling. The altar was the literal center of communal life. So to circle it while proclaiming thanks was a highly visible, incredibly public declaration. The author isn't hiding away quietly in a corner. His innocence isn't defined just by an absence of guilt. It's characterized by the active, loud presence of joy and gratitude right out there in the middle of the public square.
Which brings us to verse 8. And this essentially functions as the author's ultimate alibi. "O Lord, I love the habitation of your house and the place where your glory dwells." Think about it. In a legal setting, an alibi proves you were somewhere else when the crime went down. Here, the author proves his innocence by demonstrating exactly where he chooses to seek safe haven. In a chaotic, tribal world filled with those men of falsehood and violence we talked about, the habitation of the house was considered the ultimate safe zone. It was a sanctuary of order and divine protection. So, while the wicked are out there plotting evil devices, he's safely tucked away in the sanctuary. His geographical location literally proves his internal loyalty. Section 4. Standing on level ground. Moving to verse 11, the author delivers his closing statement with incredible resolve. "But as for me, I shall walk in my integrity, redeem me, and be gracious to me." There's actually a really fascinating paradox nestled right here at the end of the defense. Think about it. The author has just spent this entire plea demanding vindication and asserting his absolute innocence. But then, in his final breath, he still asks the judge to redeem me and be gracious to me. It adds such profound nuance to the text. It's an acknowledgement that even the most rigorous human integrity still ultimately relies on the grace of the court. Despite all the evil surrounding him, he draws a final boundary, saying, "But as for me," and he trusts the verdict. Finally, the tension of the trial resolves completely with a powerful closing metaphor in verse 12. "My foot stands on level ground, in the great assembly I will bless the Lord." To fully grasp the weight of this, you kind of have to understand the geography of ancient Israel. This was a landscape defined by rocky, treacherous, and deeply uneven terrain. Literally, one wrong step could lead to disaster. Because of that, level ground was this highly visceral metaphor for ultimate stability and moral safety. The trial is over. He isn't slipping down some moral slope, and he isn't trapped in the chaotic terrain of the wicked. He is standing firm, upright, and completely vindicated. We've just spent this time analyzing a purely ancient defense strategy. But the truth is, this courtroom drama plays out regularly in the human experience. We all continually face the temptation of bad company, the allure of taking shortcuts, and the everyday struggle to maintain our integrity when everyone else seems to have their hands full of bribes. The mechanics of this ancient text really force us to examine our own foundations today. So I want to leave you with this final thought. In a world of constantly shifting morals and treacherous, uneven terrain, where is your level ground?